Hello friends. Imagine someone with the vision of an inventor, the mind of a philosopher, the heart of a rebel, and the charm of a mischief maker. Meet the Aquarius born in the year of the monkey. This is no ordinary individual. This is someone who turns life into an art form, who dances through the rules of society just to remix them into something better. But who are they really? What makes this eccentric creature tick? What drives them in love, friendship, business, and what shadows lie hidden beneath their sparkling personality? Let's unravel the fascinating paradox that is the Aquarius monkey. Love, freedom wrapped in fireworks. For the Aquarius born in the year of the monkey, love is a surreal theater, where logic and magic shake hands and dance wildly under the moonlight. This isn't someone who falls into love gently or follows a script written by Hallmark. No, they write their own rules. Each romantic connection is an experiment, a spark, a phenomenon that refuses to obey gravity. They're driven by something deeper than desire, something spiritual, electric, and delightfully erratic. From the outside, they appear flirtatious, light-hearted, almost aloof. But beneath that playful veneer is a soul that aches for rare connection. They want romance that feels like rebellion, love that doesn't trap, but liberates, a bond that can breathe. It's not that they fear intimacy, they just demand it on their own terms, with authenticity as the only currency that matters. The paradox of emotional independence. Perhaps the most confusing thing about the Aquarius monkey in love is how they can be intensely invested in someone, while simultaneously resisting closeness. It's as if their heart is wired for both passion and detachment. They can text you for hours, listen to your soul with unwavering focus, and then disappear into their own world for days. It's not cruelty, it's necessity. Their emotional system runs on autonomy. In love, they're deeply affectionate, but not traditionally romantic. They might forget anniversaries, but will remember obscure facts about your childhood dreams. They won't always say, "I love you," but they'll send you books that remind them of your spirit. Grand gestures? Rare, but authentic, spontaneous moments of real intimacy? Often unforgettable. If you chase them, they'll run. If you hold space for them, they'll return, on fire with new stories and a deeper affection for you than ever before. The relationship thrives only when each partner can remain whole. The intellectual seduction game. To love an Aquarius monkey is to engage in a lifelong mental courtship. They are turned on by ideas. They fall in love with curiosity, wit, philosophy, and people who think in constellations, not bullet points. Want to win their heart? Stimulate their mind. They adore teasing conversation, not just wordplay, but emotional sparring. Deep, layered, out-of-the-box thinking is the key to keeping their attention. They want a partner who challenges them, not to win an argument, but to unlock a new universe. They're attracted to complexity. Simplicity bores them. Romantic connection isn't just a feeling for them, it's a conversation that never ends. If your banter can evolve into existential dialogue, you're already halfway to their heart. They may not always say how much they care, but they'll show it by investing their time, attention, and ideas in you. The non-negotiables of loving them. There are 3 sacred laws to loving an Aquarius monkey: trust, freedom, and respect for individuality. Violate one, and the connection will unravel no matter how strong the initial spark. Trust is the foundation. They don't open up easily, and once they do, they expect emotional transparency in return. They value honesty more than traditional loyalty. Tell the truth, even if it's messy, and they'll respect you for it. Freedom is oxygen. They need space, not to escape you, but to recharge. Time alone is vital for their creativity and emotional clarity. Don't guilt them for needing solitude. If you give them the room to breathe, they'll come back with even more love to give. Respect for their individuality is non-negotiable. They won't change for anyone. Don't try to make them more normal, more predictable, more palatable. Love them in all their complexity, or don't love them at all. They'll do the same for you. The ideal match: love without borders. The perfect partner for an Aquarius monkey isn't someone who grounds them, but someone who flies beside them. Someone who sees their chaos as charm, their unpredictability as poetry, and their independence not as a threat, but as an asset. This partner isn't intimidated by their intellect, or thrown off by their mood swings. They're emotionally mature, deeply curious, and spiritually open. They give without demanding, they love without clinging, and they celebrate the Aquarius monkey for exactly who they are, a walking paradox of heart and mind. Together, this pair builds a love story that's fluid, wild, and alive. Not a cage, but a constellation. Not a routine, but a rhythm. Not a fairy tale, but a myth waiting to be written. In the end, love for the Aquarius monkey isn't about happily ever after, it's about eternally evolving together. And if you're lucky enough to be their chosen one, buckle up, it's going to be the ride of your life. Marriage, a contract written in invisible ink. Marriage, for the Aquarius born in the year of the monkey, is not a final destination. It's a dynamic, constantly changing journey. Think less till death do us part, and more, let's grow side by side for as long as we're evolving in the same direction. They don't marry because it's expected. They marry because it makes sense in the moment and serves a mutual vision of the future. And when it stops making sense, they'll be the first to question, restructure, or even release the union with respect and clarity. Traditional vows, fixed gender roles, and Pinterest perfect domesticity have little appeal here. Instead, they gravitate toward marriage as a partnership between two sovereign beings, free, whole, and inspired to build something greater together. Whether that's a project, a movement, a family, or a world-changing idea depends entirely on the couple. But one thing is certain: if it doesn't leave room for creativity, independence, and constant discovery, it won't last. The meaning of commitment, not cling, but collaboration. Commitment to an Aquarius monkey isn't about chaining yourself to another person. It's about agreeing to grow in tandem while still honoring your individuality. For them, commitment is a living, breathing thing. It should evolve, it should adapt, it should feel like wings, not anchors. They are deeply capable of loyalty, but only if they feel their freedom is intact. Ironically, the more you allow them to be themselves, the more committed they become. They don't want a spouse who's always beside them, they want one who's running their own race, but in the same direction. Someone who can share the journey without dictating the route. In fact, the Aquarius monkey often thrives in marriages where each partner maintains a strong, separate identity. They love when their spouse has a life beyond the marriage, hobbies, dreams, friendships, personal growth. Codependence doesn't seduce them, interdependence does. The anti-routine philosophy. Routine is the silent killer of love in their world. The moment the relationship becomes predictable, stagnant, or overly scheduled, the Aquarius monkey begins to emotionally unplug. They are allergic to monotony, and while they may respect rituals that have meaning, they'll rebel against rituals that exist just for the sake of tradition. Their ideal marriage includes frequent reinvention. Maybe that's spontaneous travel, shifting career paths together, experimenting with living arrangements, or even exploring unconventional relationship structures. Monogamy? Maybe. Polyamory? Possibly. Cohabitation? Only if it's not suffocating. Everything is up for re-evaluation, regularly. This isn't instability, it's intentional evolution. For them, a successful marriage doesn't resist change, it requires it. So if you marry them, expect to rewrite your normal every few years. And love it. Emotional intelligence in space, the real love language. Though often seen as emotionally detached or aloof, the Aquarius monkey is actually deeply sensitive, just not in obvious ways. They may not cry at romantic movies or bombard you with "I love yous," but they'll show care through thoughtfulness, deep conversations, and unexpected gestures that reflect your uniqueness. Still, they must have space. Emotional, intellectual, and physical space. They're not trying to escape you, they're simply protecting their inner world, which is a whirlwind of ideas and energy. Time alone is part of their self-regulation. When they're given that breathing room, they show up in the relationship with more love, clarity, and innovation. And what they give in return is powerful. They become a partner who will never stop encouraging your dreams, who will challenge you to become the fullest version of yourself, who will support you, even when your evolution takes strange, nonlinear paths. That kind of love doesn't need constant validation. It just needs mutual respect, understanding, and space to grow. Marriage as a co-creation of ideals. Aquarius monkeys don't view marriage as the merging of two lives, they see it as the co-creation of a shared philosophy. For them, a successful marriage means building something together that's bigger than romance. It could be a nonprofit, a film, a family, a startup, a social mission. But there must be purpose, an aligned cause that keeps both souls invested and inspired. When the relationship feels like a stagnant container, it loses all meaning. But when it feels like a creative laboratory, a sacred workshop of love and impact, they're fully committed. They want to wake up each day knowing the marriage still has mystery, momentum, and mutual fire. They often marry later in life, not because they're afraid of love, but because they need time to understand themselves before they can truly partner with someone else. And even then, they'll test the relationship's flexibility constantly. If it bends without breaking, they'll invest everything. If it demands conformity, they'll walk away, respectfully but firmly. In the end, marriage to an Aquarius monkey is not for the faint of heart. It's for the brave, the open-minded, the ones who crave evolution over stability, authenticity over appearances, and soul-deep freedom over surface-level comfort. If you're marrying one, throw out the rulebook, pick up a blank journal, and start writing a love story the world's never seen before. Sex. Mind first, body second. For an Aquarius born in the year of the monkey, sex is not just a physical act, it's an intellectual event. It begins long before the bedroom. It starts with eye contact across a crowded room, with a brilliant joke, a daring idea, a question that pierces the surface. For them, mental stimulation is foreplay. A charged conversation can light them up more than any candlelit dinner or slow dance ever could. They crave eroticism that plays chess, not checkers. If you can seduce their mind, the body follows naturally and wildly. They're intrigued by people who defy expectations. They're not hunting for perfection, they're drawn to complexity. Authenticity, originality, and imagination are the true aphrodisiacs. And while they absolutely appreciate physical beauty, it's never enough. What really pulls them in is a lover who thinks deeply, laughs unpredictably, and shares an inner world that's just as strange and surprising as theirs. The erotic power of imagination. Aquarius monkeys bring a kind of cosmic curiosity to sex. They want to explore, reinvent, experiment, not just in a physical sense, but in emotional and psychological ways. They're the type to fantasize about other lives, eras, or realities and bring that creative fuel into the bedroom. Maybe today it's classic seduction. Tomorrow, it's a sci-fi role play or a philosophical discussion that turns steamy without warning. They find erotic power in the unknown, the symbolic, the forbidden. Taboos don't scare them, they intrigue them. But not in a reckless way. More in a thoughtful, boundary-testing, what-if kind of way. They're not into shock value, they're into meaning. Sex, to them, is storytelling. It's performance art, it's transformation. They often connect strongly with partners who are open to discussing their desires, unpacking fantasies, or engaging in play that's more cerebral than carnal, at least at first. Once their mind is activated, their sensuality blooms with surprising intensity. Unpredictable rhythms, unconventional energy. One of the most fascinating things about the Aquarius monkey's sexuality is its rhythm, or lack thereof. Their libido is lunar, seasonal, spontaneous. Sometimes they're fire incarnate. Other times, they're more interested in late-night debates about the multiverse. Don't take it personally, it's not rejection, it's just how their energy flows. They're not the kind of partner who thrives on routine intimacy. Scheduled date nights might feel stale to them. They want sparks that feel organic. They may go through phases of intense sensual connection, followed by periods of emotional or intellectual intimacy that replaces the physical for a time. The key to maintaining that erotic connection is surprise. They thrive on the unexpected, an impromptu getaway, a provocative text, a dream you share that opens up new possibilities. They don't need perfection, they need playfulness. And if you can keep their curiosity alive, they'll keep coming back, mentally and physically. Freedom in expression, not just in action. This sign-year blend is wired for sexual freedom, but it's not just about open relationships or unconventional acts, it's about freedom of expression. They want to talk about what turns them on without judgment. They want to feel safe sharing desires that don't fit into mainstream molds. If you're open to that kind of honesty, they'll give you a version of themselves that's raw, radiant, and real. They're natural communicators, so if something isn't working, they'd rather explore and adjust than silently tolerate dissatisfaction. And they expect the same in return. Their greatest sexual fear isn't rejection, it's conformity. A partner who expects them to perform a role or follow a script will never get the full experience of their depth. They crave co-creation. Erotic connection should feel like jazz, improvised, soulful, and unique to the two people involved. That's where they shine. Not in perfection, but in the unrepeatable magic of a moment. The connection of souls through sensuality. While their approach to sex is lighthearted and experimental on the surface, there's a deeper, more spiritual thread running underneath. At their core, Aquarius monkeys see sex as a way to merge worlds. They're not interested in just physical pleasure, they want transcendence. They want to feel like the universe cracked open for a moment and let two people step into something timeless. Their ideal sexual partner isn't just a lover, they're a co-conspirator in magic. Someone who's not afraid to laugh, to get weird, to cry, to be fully human in bed. Because that's what they're after, realness. The freedom to be everything at once, passionate and goofy, intense and tender, raw and poetic. When that kind of trust is built, the Aquarius monkey becomes endlessly generous and open. They'll pour energy into making their partner feel seen, heard, and desired, not just as a body, but as a being. And that kind of sex? That's the kind you never forget. So if you're lucky enough to share that space with them, know this. You're not just having sex. You're sharing a secret language, a private universe, and a love story written in constellations. Friendship, the revolutionary confidant. Being friends with an Aquarius born in the year of the monkey is like being on a road trip with no GPS, an ever-changing playlist, and the kind of conversations that leave your brain buzzing for days. They don't offer friendship in the traditional, structured, let's have lunch every Tuesday kind of way. Instead, they offer connection that is raw, electrifying, and evolutionary. They show up when it matters most, often in unexpected ways, with just the right words, wild ideas, or strange but perfect advice. They aren't clingy companions. They disappear sometimes, into books, obsessions, adventures, or deep thoughts, but when they return, it's like a lightning strike of presence. Their loyalty runs deep, but it's wired through a sense of freedom. You're not just their friend, you're part of a personal revolution. A fellow traveler in their lifelong pursuit of truth, curiosity, and reinvention. The disruptors of small talk. Don't expect surface-level chit-chat or idle gossip with this sign-year combo. The Aquarius monkey doesn't waste breath on weather reports or celebrity drama unless it's part of a bigger sociological theory. Their style of conversation is intense, nonlinear, and often filled with rabbit holes that somehow tie back to something deeply personal. They're the friend who will ask you what scares you more, dying alone or never being truly known. The one who'll debate time travel logistics over tacos and then connect it to your latest breakup with eerie precision. They crave soul talk, conversations that peel layers off your identity, poke at your beliefs, and awaken you to things you didn't know you felt. It might be jarring at first, especially if you're used to safer connections. But once you realize how real, refreshing, and radically honest they are, you'll crave it too. They're the kind of friend who reminds you that you're more than your job title or your Instagram feed. You're a complex universe, and they want to explore it. Freedom is the foundation. Their friendships are built on one essential principle: autonomy. They need friends who understand that closeness doesn't mean constant contact, that they can love you fiercely and still not reply to your message for 2 days. That disappearing isn't abandonment, it's often just recalibration. The moment someone becomes possessive, dramatic, or starts tallying time spent together like it's a bank ledger, the Aquarius monkey starts pulling away. They are allergic to guilt trips and emotional manipulation. They thrive with people who let them be, and come back when they're ready, often with something beautiful to share. But don't confuse their space-loving nature for indifference. When you're truly in their circle, they'll move mountains for you. They'll show up in crises, celebrate your weirdest wins, and champion you when you don't even believe in yourself. But it all has to exist on a foundation of mutual freedom. The social circle of creative chaos. Their friendships rarely look homogeneous. Their inner circle is often a colorful, chaotic mix of creatives, intellectuals, activists, spiritual seekers, gamers, artists, coders, and free thinkers. They're drawn to uniqueness, not status. To rawness, not polish. Their friend group is a living art project, diverse, multidimensional, and always in motion. You'll often find them introducing people who would never meet otherwise. A physicist and a tattoo artist. A jazz musician and a climate activist. They're social alchemists, bringing people together who spark off each other in unexpected ways. And within that circle, everyone is encouraged to be their full, weird, wonderful selves. They despise cliques and exclusivity. They'll abandon a scene the moment it becomes performative or rigid. Authenticity is their compass, and they expect it from everyone around them. Pretending to be something you're not is the fastest way to lose their trust. Forgiveness is earned, not guaranteed. Aquarius monkeys are famously tolerant in many ways, but betrayal is a hard line. They can handle mistakes, mood swings, and even emotional outbursts. But lies, manipulation, trying to control or mold them, that's the end of the story. If you betray their trust, you'll find out just how quickly an air sign with monkey instincts can vanish. They may not throw a dramatic fit, they may even part ways peacefully, but once they've emotionally detached, they don't usually circle back. Forgiveness, in their world, isn't a given. It's earned through action, time, and demonstrated change. And yet, for those who honor their friendship, who bring honesty, freedom, and curiosity to the table, the reward is immense. You'll have a friend who expands your mind, defends your dreams, and sticks with you through every bizarre twist life throws at you. Because at their core, Aquarius monkeys are more than just fun, insightful, and unconventional. They're loyal in the rarest, truest way possible. They love you as you are, not as they wish you were. And in a world full of filters and facades, that kind of friendship is revolutionary. Business, the maverick mastermind. Aquarius monkeys are the kind of professionals who walk into a boardroom and instantly change the temperature of the room. They bring energy, unpredictability, and a brain that seems wired to decode future markets before the rest of the world even knows they exist. While others plan in quarters, they think in revolutions. Their approach to business is half genius, half jazz band, spontaneous but somehow always in tune with what's next. They see connections where others see chaos. They aren't impressed by what's trending, they're fascinated by what's possible. Disruption isn't a strategy for them, it's a personality trait. Whether they're founding startups or leading innovation inside corporations, their presence signals a shake-up. They challenge assumptions, poke holes in outdated models, and ask the kinds of questions that force everyone to think bigger. Innovation as a way of life. For the Aquarius monkey, innovation isn't a buzzword, it's their default operating system. They don't just adopt new tools, they create them. They love building what's never been built, designing what hasn't been imagined, and solving problems that others haven't even noticed yet. They are futurists with restless minds, always scanning the horizon for the next idea to chase. Their best work happens when they're given freedom to explore uncharted territory. Whether it's launching a sustainable brand that runs on blockchain, or merging fashion with augmented reality, they live to experiment. They are often early adopters of new tech and have a natural instinct for what will stick, and what will sink. But here's the secret: they don't innovate just for the thrill. They innovate to elevate. They want to shift culture, change conversations, and challenge the very foundation of how business is done. Their work has a philosophical backbone, even if it's wrapped in wild creativity. Risk-taking, reinvention, and the art of the pivot. Failure doesn't intimidate an Aquarius monkey, it fuels them. If something doesn't work, they don't spiral into doubt. They analyze, adapt, and evolve. In fact, failure often pushes them into their most creative breakthroughs. They're not afraid to abandon a project midstream if it no longer sparks curiosity. To them, stagnation is far more dangerous than failure. They possess an uncanny ability to pivot. When others are paralyzed by market shifts, they're already building version 2.0. If they sense boredom creeping in, they'll light a match to the old plan figuratively, of course, and rebuild from scratch with even more audacity. This constant reinvention can be exhausting for more conservative team members, but exhilarating for fellow innovators. Their talent lies not in clinging to a single vision, but in reshaping it to meet the moment. They aren't loyal to formats, they're loyal to progress. The unbossed creative force. Structure is their kryptonite. Rigid routines, micromanagement, and top-down systems make their skin crawl. They're not meant to be managed, they're meant to be unleashed. When placed in traditional corporate environments, they either get frustrated and leave, or quietly dismantle the old systems from within and replace them with something smarter, sleeker, and faster. Give them autonomy, and they'll surprise you with brilliance. Trap them in protocol, and you'll watch their light dim. The best teams for Aquarius monkeys are flat, flexible, and collaborative. They work best with other big thinkers who don't get lost in details, and who are brave enough to say, "Let's try something no one's ever done before." They don't lead with ego. They lead with vision, and if they trust you, they'll bring you into that vision and let you shape it with them. But trust must be mutual. They don't respect titles, they respect ideas. A new kind of business legacy. Ultimately, Aquarius monkeys aren't in business just to make a profit, they want to make a point. Or better yet, a dent in the universe. They're here to challenge norms, defy expectations, and introduce new ways of thinking, working, and building value. Money is a tool, success is a language, but impact is the mission. They are naturally drawn to social entrepreneurship, ethical innovation, and anything that merges consciousness with commerce. They believe businesses should not only solve problems, but also elevate humanity. Their ventures often include a message, a cause, or a reimagining of how business could operate if it actually prioritized people and planet alongside profit. They may not follow a linear career path, but they'll leave footprints wherever they go. Footprints shaped like ideas that once seemed impossible, but now run entire industries. To work with them is to be pulled into something bigger than a job. It's a vision that's half blueprint, half electric storm. So if you're doing business with an Aquarius monkey, don't expect comfort. Expect chaos, creativity, and pure, unapologetic genius. Just hang on tight, and try to keep up. The dark side, the trickster's shadow. For all their brilliance, innovation, and magnetic individuality, Aquarius monkeys are not immune to the shadows of their own making. In fact, their darkness is often just the underside of their brightest traits, warped not by malice, but by fear, ego, and unchecked intensity. They are not villains, but they can become their own worst enemies when their desire for freedom turns into avoidance, or when their razor-sharp minds begin slicing through human connection instead of deepening it. The shadow of the Aquarius monkey is the trickster archetype, charming, clever, elusive, and dangerously good at evading consequences. While this energy gives them their genius, it also makes them prone to emotional escape acts, self-sabotage, and intellectual superiority. If they're not careful, they become loners by choice, and then pretend they're alone by design. Independence turned isolation. Aquarius monkeys treasure their freedom. It's the air they breathe, the battery that powers their creativity. But when taken to extremes, that freedom becomes a wall, one they build so high and wide that no one can get through, including themselves. They begin rejecting closeness before it can threaten them. They ghost instead of explaining. They disappear rather than risk vulnerability. What starts as healthy autonomy can warp into emotional exile. They may convince themselves they don't need anyone, that self-sufficiency is strength. But deep down, they ache for connection. They just don't know how to ask for it without feeling caged. This internal contradiction can leave friends and partners feeling hurt, confused, or disposable. And the more isolated they become, the more they double down on the idea that no one understands them. That's when their revolutionary spirit begins to rot into cynicism, and their brilliance becomes a fortress instead of a bridge. Charm as a weapon. They are charming, undeniably so. Witty, engaging, unpredictable. But when their darker instincts take the wheel, that charm turns from an invitation into a manipulation tool. They know how to say just enough to keep someone hooked, how to play mysterious to avoid accountability, how to mask selfishness in the language of freedom or complexity. They might withhold affection or information to maintain control. They might create emotional push-pull dynamics just to test if someone still cares. Sometimes, they don't even realize they're doing it. They've rationalized it as honesty, or not leading anyone on. But make no mistake, when their shadow is active, they lead, they twist, they disappear, and then claim it's all just part of their nature. This behavior often leaves a trail of confused lovers, alienated collaborators, and burned bridges. And though the Aquarius monkey may shrug it off in the moment, it gnaws at them in quieter hours. They know they're smarter than this. The trick is learning not to use that intelligence as a shield. Overthinking and emotional coldness. Ideas are everything to the Aquarius monkey, but that comes at a cost. When they live too much in the mind, they become disconnected from their heart. They begin to analyze feelings rather than feel them. They intellectualize pain, compartmentalize discomfort, and rationalize anything that might require emotional accountability. They may dismiss deep feelings as dramatic, or avoid hard conversations because they don't want to create conflict. But beneath that logic is often fear, of being seen, of being hurt, of being wrong. This detachment can lead others to perceive them as cold, disinterested, or even sociopathic. In reality, they're just terrified of emotional chaos they can't predict or control. Their lesson here? Emotions aren't threats, they're truths. If they can learn to sit with feeling instead of dissecting it, they unlock a level of intimacy that matches their intellectual depth. The ego hidden in intelligence. One of the most dangerous parts of the Aquarius monkey's shadow is their ego, but not the loud, boastful kind. No, their ego is intellectual. It wears glasses and quotes philosophers and corrects your logic with a smile. They often are the smartest person in the room, and they know it. But when that awareness becomes arrogance, they isolate themselves atop a pedestal of superiority. They may dismiss others' ideas as simplistic, mock tradition for the sake of rebellion, or sabotage group efforts because no one gets it. And worst of all, they can become blind to the fact that they're doing this. The echo chamber of their own mind becomes louder than the input of those who care about them. The remedy? Humility. They must learn that being brilliant doesn't mean being right all the time, and that wisdom often comes from unexpected sources. Real leadership is listening. Real genius is inclusive. Escapism, avoidance, and the pattern of disappearing. When things get uncomfortable, emotionally, professionally, relationally, the Aquarius monkey's default move is exit. Not always physically, but mentally, emotionally, energetically. They'll distract themselves with projects, ideas, fantasies, or even new relationships to avoid facing what's unraveling inside. This escapism can become habitual. They start abandoning things before they can go wrong. Starting over becomes a drug. Novelty replaces depth. And eventually, they realize they've built a life full of beginnings and very few lasting roots. If they don't interrupt this pattern, they risk becoming permanent wanderers, brilliant but unmoored, surrounded by people who admire them but never truly know them. The turning point comes when they stop running, sit in the discomfort, and let it shape them instead of scare them. When they stop disappearing from themselves. The Aquarius monkey has the potential to become a truly extraordinary force in the world, but only if they confront the shadow that follows their light. When they integrate the trickster, rather than letting it rule from the dark, they become not just clever, but wise. Not just different, but impactful. Not just interesting, but deeply human. Life goals, legacy over luxury. The Aquarius born in the year of the monkey is not chasing a dream that's wrapped in gold foil or parked in a mansion driveway. Their ambitions run deeper. far beneath the surface where status symbols fade and legacy begins. They are wired to create change, not collect trophies. To inspire movements, not just amass wealth. Their fulfillment doesn't come from what they own, but from what they ignite in the world around them. They don't just want to live well, they want to leave a mark that echoes. Their vision of success is expansive, shifting societal mindsets, pioneering ideas that challenge norms, and building frameworks that future generations can build upon. When they imagine their ideal future, it's not full of glittering possessions, it's full of people, systems, and ideas transformed by their existence. Purpose is the compass, not profit. For the Aquarius Monkey, purpose isn't optional, it's essential. They can't fake enthusiasm for goals that lack soul. Give them a job with a six-figure paycheck and no meaning, and they'll start planning their escape within weeks. But offer them the chance to work on something revolutionary, even if it's chaotic or uncertain, and they'll throw their entire being into it. They don't mind the hustle, as long as it's aligned. Their goals are often centered around solving a problem, challenging a system, or disrupting a stale pattern. They're especially drawn to work that touches the collective, climate innovation, social equity, ethical technology, creative expression that questions power structures. They aren't interested in being rich, they're interested in being useful. To awaken people, to stretch minds, to shake the very fabric of what's considered normal. That's the kind of wealth they're after, the kind that can't be measured in bank accounts. Influence over fame. They don't crave celebrity, they crave change. If they become well-known, it's usually by accident. Fame, for the Aquarius Monkey, is simply a byproduct of living authentically and refusing to fit inside the box. They may attract followers, media attention, or cult-like admiration, but they rarely chase it. They're not interested in being liked by the masses, they're interested in awakening them. Their goal is to influence thought, to introduce radical new perspectives. Whether it's through writing, speaking, designing, or building, they want to move people toward a more intelligent, conscious, and liberated way of thinking. They often become thought leaders without trying, just by daring to question what everyone else accepts. They'll trade superficial popularity for meaningful impact every time. Their idea of influence is rooted in integrity, disruption, and the audacity to say what no one else will. The long game of legacy. While others may peak early chasing quick wins, the Aquarius Monkey often plays the long game. Their timeline isn't linear. It's layered with false starts, brilliant detours, and moments of creative implosion. But through it all, they're gathering momentum, sharpening vision, waiting for the moment when the world is finally ready for what they've been cultivating all along. They are often late bloomers, not because they're slow, but because their ideas are ahead of their time. It might take years, even decades, for others to catch up. And that's okay. They're not chasing applause, they're building something that lasts. By their 40s and beyond, their work tends to crystallize. The chaos starts to make sense. The projects that once felt too weird or too radical suddenly look prophetic. Their voice grows louder, their influence expands, and they often reach their full potential just when others are slowing down. Reinvention as a life strategy. One of the Aquarius Monkey's secret weapons is their ability to evolve, radically, repeatedly, and without apology. They don't cling to identities. They don't fear starting over. In fact, reinvention is often how they discover their next purpose. Careers, relationships, and philosophies are all subject to transformation if they stop resonating. This makes their life path unconventional. What looks like instability to others is actually a deliberate shedding of outdated versions of themselves. They are perpetual students of life, constantly rethinking, relearning, and redefining success. That flexibility becomes a superpower. It allows them to adapt, to remain relevant, and to step into new spaces that others might consider too risky. Reinvention isn't their plan B, it's their signature move. A legacy built on awakening, not accumulation. In the end, what the Aquarius Monkey truly wants is to wake people up. Their legacy is one of clarity, creativity, and disruption. They aim to leave behind not just projects or profits, but questions, movements, paradigm shifts. They want people to think differently because they existed. Their dream is to look back and know they helped expand consciousness, break a few rules, and make people feel more alive. That they challenged systems that needed collapsing. That they lit sparks that others turned into fire. Their name doesn't have to be on buildings. Their face doesn't need to be on magazine covers. But their influence? It'll be felt in how we think, create, organize, and rebel, long after they're gone. Because for them, that's the only goal worth chasing. Not luxury, not legacy in name, but legacy in impact. So what's the final word on the Aquarius Monkey? The Aquarius Monkey is the type of person who enters your life like a glitch in the matrix, unexpected, unfiltered, and utterly unforgettable. They blur the line between genius and mischief, iconoclast and empath, philosopher and prankster. One moment they're questioning the fabric of reality, the next they're making you laugh so hard you forget your name. They live outside the algorithm. They are the exception to the rule. Everything about them defies categorization. They're too rational to be ruled by emotion, but too intuitive to be boxed into logic. They might plan their week using spreadsheets and astrology. They believe in data and dreams. Theirs is a mind built like a kaleidoscope, always rotating, reframing, rearranging the world into patterns no one else can see. They were never meant to walk the well-trodden path. They were born to build roads where there were none, and then light them up with neon paint and stardust. The soul of a rebel, the heart of a visionary. At the core of every Aquarius monkey is a deep, pulsing desire to make the world better. Not quieter, not safer, better. That often means breaking things, rules, expectations, even relationships that demand conformity. But the rebellion isn't aimless. It's rooted in vision. They want to tear down so they can rebuild smarter, kinder, freer. They see possibilities where others see problems. They see systems as puzzles to rewire. Their mind is constantly questioning, optimizing, and disrupting. But what most people miss is the heart underneath it all. Every revolution they spark is secretly driven by love. Love for truth, for freedom, for human potential. They're not just rebels. They're visionaries in motion. Their heart beats for a world that doesn't exist yet, but will, because they dared to imagine it. A hurricane of humor and high consciousness. There's a reason people are drawn to the Aquarius monkey like moths to a flame. They're hilarious, wild, unpredictable, and often laugh when they shouldn't. But that's part of their magic. They use humor as a scalpel. It cuts through pretense. It disarms. It liberates. Their jokes are rarely just for laughs. They're layered with insight, subversion, and a sideways look at the absurdity of the human condition. They can flip from goofball to guru in a sentence. One moment, they're riffing about memes or UFOs. The next, they're dropping wisdom that stops you in your tracks. They carry paradox effortlessly, enlightenment and chaos, stillness and motion. You'll never know what to expect, and that's exactly how they like it. Spend time with them, and you'll find yourself seeing the world with new eyes, and probably laughing about it the whole time. The unwritten blueprint of the future. Aquarius monkeys aren't here to replicate what's already been done. Their very nature resists it. They're not followers. They're not even leaders in the traditional sense. They're inventors of direction. Their path is not a staircase, it's a series of unexpected leaps. They often feel out of sync with the times. Too ahead, too complex, too out there, but that's only because the world hasn't caught up yet. Give it time, and the ideas they were once mocked for become the new blueprint. Whether in art, tech, culture, or personal growth, they're constantly planting seeds in soil no one else dares to touch. They are the prototype of the future human, one who thrives on freedom, collaborates with consciousness, and makes rebellion look like an art form. The world needs them, not to conform, but to continue breaking the mold. If you were one of them, own it. If you're an Aquarius monkey, you've probably spent most of your life feeling different. Like the world is speaking in a language you were never fluent in. But here's the truth. You weren't meant to understand this version of the world. You were born to rewrite it. You're not difficult, you're multidimensional. You're not unstable, you're evolving faster than your surroundings. You don't need to explain yourself to people who only understand the surface. Your mind, your spirit, your frequency, it's not meant for everyone. It's meant for those who see. So keep being weird, keep asking questions that make people uncomfortable, keep dreaming louder than the noise around you, because you're not just here to exist, you're here to awaken the rest of us. And never forget, your truth is not too much, it's too rare. If this deep dive into the beautifully rebellious world of the Aquarius Monkey resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with the other cosmic tricksters in your life. Check the links in the description for more Zodiac deep dives and mind-bending character alchemy. Stay curious, stay defiant, and most importantly, stay entirely, unapologetically you.